Hello, welcome to Hip Talk, the podcast where we talk about all the new cool features and innovations coming to the Hedera network. Today, we're going to be talking about Release 56, and I'm honored to be joined by Mark Blackman, who's a Senior Director of Product Management at Hashgraph. Welcome, Mark.
Hey, thank you, Keith. Nice to be here.
Great. Well, for Release 55, it was, we didn't have, it was kind of a light release, but I think Release 56 is a heavy hitter, a lot of cool and exciting features. So let's kind of just dive right into it. So first of all, in Release 56, we have some additions to HIP 904. Now, so for those of you who've been watching HIP Talk, we've been talking about HIP 904 feature additions since I think Release 52. And I think we consider the product to be largely out the door in Release 54, but we can continue to add new features and additions to it. So what have we added for HIP 904 or frictionless airdrops in Release 56, Mark?
Yeah, Keith, this has been a big advancement for the feature in that smart contracts can now issue frictionless airdrops. So obviously a big step forward for that feature, expanding the functionality in the platform.
Cool. And kind of in that theme, we also, back in Release 52, we released a feature called isAuthorized Raw. And this was a feature that allowed smart contracts to validate message payloads, validate the signatures on message payloads. And again, in Release 56, we've made a feature addition called isAuthorized, all part of HIP 632. Can you talk a little bit about what that adds?
Yeah, great. It actually adds support for complex key types. So complex keys include threshold keys or nested keys. And really what those provide are more complex key signing structures to match more complex policies.
Great. Okay, well, that's going to be a great addition for people looking to do more and more advanced functionality in smart contracts. So amazing stuff. So now we're going to get into, I think, some really passion areas for you. You've been the product manager on the next two things we're going to be talking about. So I'm sure you're very excited. So the first is going to be talking about something we're going to be talking a lot about in the future. But I think this is the first release where we've started off that work, and that's HIP 869, a dynamic address book. So maybe Mark, first, can you just give a quick high-level overview for viewers of what is dynamic address book?
Yeah, sure. So firstly, let me describe what the address book is. The address book is the registry for all the nodes on the network. So nodes use the address book to discover and connect to each other. So all of that information is in the address book. That has historically been managed and facilitated by the Hedera Council. But what Dynamic Address Book allows us to do is let node operators manage their own entries within that address book. So specifically, a node operator would send transactions to the network stating the changes they want to make. So maybe they change the IP address of their node. And through that transaction, the rest of the nodes on the network are able to build their address book and understand that, hey, this node has a new IP address now, so I should use that to connect it.
Yeah, and it sounds like something simple, but actually, I know kind of from experience, it's a massive project
Yeah.
at Hedera. It's going to span multiple releases. So specifically in Release 56, what's the component of Dynamic Address Book that we're taking on?
Yeah, so this feature is actually a two-stage feature deployment. The first stage is that front end. So those APIs you use to submit transactions, that is being delivered in this release for that first stage. The second stage is to optimize the back end to really expedite when these changes can be applied to the entire network. So right now in stage one, it's during upgrades is when the address book will be refreshed. But in stage two, that will be a daily cadence and possibly even shorter intervals.
Okay, great stuff. Well, we look forward to continued updates on this work, and I think at some point we'll probably also be doing a deep dive on Dynamic Address Book because it's a really exciting body of work. So the final feature we have for Release 56 is HIP, a new HIP, HIP 1056, And this is a feature that I think we're all really excited about, Blockstreams. So maybe we could start with, can you just give a high level overview for people who've never heard of Blockstreams before?
Yeah.
What is Blockstreams?
Sure, sure. So hopefully people are familiar with record streams, but the Hedera network, as it reaches consensus and processes transactions, that data is streamed out of the network to other downstream nodes and data providers. So really to use the network and to understand the state of the network, you need this output stream. And what Blockstreams does is not only consolidate all the previously fragmented streams into one unified stream, it also includes other information, most notably state changes. And this is really a very powerful addition to the stream, the output stream, because it enables for the first time devices other than a consensus node to track and verify Hedera state alongside the network. So it really broadens out the transparency of the network, but also enables a lot of new use cases and power features utilizing that state data.
Okay, that it sounds really cool. And again, when we look at specifically at release 56, um, again, I think Blockstreams is going to be a large feature built over many different releases. But what are we starting with for release 56?
Yeah, you're exactly right. It is a very large feature. And at the heart of the network, if you think of the output of the network, that's such a core functionality. So we really want to ensure that the community has time to digest things, time to test and to integrate. So in this release, the consensus nodes will be, as always, producing a record stream, and that will maintain, that will continue to be the authoritative source for data output of the network. But in addition, we'll be generating preview, what we call preview developer access block streams, to enable developers and mirror node operators a chance to actually grab those files, compare them with record files, and really start to digest this very large feature that will fully materialize in 2025.
Okay, sounds great. And if you are a developer who wants to kind of start playing with this new feature, do you have any recommendations about where they can go to learn more or to get started?
Yeah, I'm happy to say both with Dynamic Address Book and Blockstreams, we do have a blog coming out which will explain at a high level those features. And in the case of the Blockstreams blog, will actually give you specific information on the buckets where they'll be stored. Additionally, as always, the HIP themselves provide the full context of the technical features and descriptions. So as always, encourage people to read the HIPs themselves if they're that interested and fairly technical.
Okay. And for those of you who are interested in the Hedera blog, that's at hedera.com. Hips are at, keep me honest, Mark, I think hips.hedera.com.
Hips.hedera.com, yes.
And of course, always we have documentation at docs.hedera.com. And if you are interested in release 56, please go to the Hedera status page at status.hedera.com to see when release 56 will be available on PreviewNet, TestNet, and MainNet. Yeah, thank you very. Any last remarks, Mark?
No, I just want to say this has been the 12th release of the year for 2024. So really capping off the year nicely. And I'm really excited. As mentioned, Blockstreams, the dynamic address book, really give us a step forward for the next year. So really a great way to end the year off and really excited about what's to come.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be a really exciting
Yeah.
2025 when it comes to features innovations on Hedera. So, and we'll be keeping everyone posted on all the latest and greatest on Hip Talk. So, thank you very much for your time, Mark. And I hope everyone has a great day.